You think you a fool, you'll act like a fool. You think you poor, you act the way they tell you poor people supposed to act. Plant. You want to grow corn, you plant a seed. It works with everything else. Plant. You want to get a new car, buy the keychain and put it away. The car come to you. That's what the real God is about.
What's good, gang? Thanks for tuning in to Just My Reactions, hosted by Ramu the Woke One. We got a good one today for y'all, gang. We got all the TikToks that's showing allegedly hidden history of America. People saying that Black Americans is from America, not Africa. Check this video out. Drop that comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
My brother, he came up to me. He said, "Are you American Indian?"
Yeah, Allah. Well, I went and see the style. I love you.
Yes, he was like the real Egypt. He's like, he knows. So I just want to say, shout out to him, much love, peace, and yeah, he knows. He said the real Egypt is in America.
Yeah, that's you. That's your land, guys.
He knows. Thank you. Shukran. Wake up, everybody. We the only ones that don't know. I come over here, everybody's taking pictures of me, asking me if I'm, Egyptian or Nubian, right? And then this one guy, he's like, "You're American Indian, yes?" And I was like, "Yes." And he said, "You all have the real Egypt." He's like, "The real Egypt is in America." So he knows. Exactly. He knows.
She say that she went to Egypt and everybody up in Egypt was taking pictures of her. And this dude say,
the natives that's doing these tribal dances, you can tell that they learn it using what's called the 1-2 step method, which is the same way you teach the hustle. It's the same way you teach square dance. And every one of their moves is a scripted move because they learned how to do it. It's not natural to them. It's a learned behavior. But when you see them Crips sea walking and them Bloods be walking, then you know that's not scripted. It's coming from their soul. It's their culture being expressed in tribal dance. In Detroit, they jitting. In the South, they gigging. But they all got that fancy footwork. The tribal traditional dances that's coming forth because the DNA can't conceal who you are.
New Orleans second line.
New Orleans, baby.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, all of this is just dating back to our ancestors and all the indigenous tribes that was from allegedly America and Africa and all around the world.
Oh yes, nearly everything here is original. That was done in Austria, 1761. The discovery of America.
The discovery of America. Is it all in there?
Nearly.
Isn't that fantastic? Look at that. The discovery of America. I think I'm just going to leave this $10 here on the table so that way it's out of my hands.
Oh, relax.
You say the discovery of America. We all know that Christopher Columbus landed on Plymouth Rock. But we all forgot that we already been here, allegedly. A lot of people sleep. And in schools don't never show us or teach us what we need to know.
So remember in part one, I showed you how the US government used bureaucracy and a particularly horrible law to push out over 100,000 people, to push them off their land, many of them ending up here, in a little rectangle that the US called Indian Territory. And crucially, in the process of kicking these nations off their land, the US government promised that they would leave them alone, that they could live in peace, rebuild their lives, relearn their land. So over the course of the 1800s, more and more tribes are exiled and arrive here to Indian territory. The territory gets divided again and again as these tribes are crammed into this one rectangle, which results in this map. And a reminder that each of these nations had their own government and culture and language, and yet they were all dumped in this one place and labeled Indian. So they ended up here knowing that it would be hard, but okay, at least we can rebuild a new life without the anxiety of white settlers unfairly claiming our land. Oops, nope, here they come.
The westward movement was like a great tidal wave, sweeping westward past the Mississippi River.
Over in the East, the Americans had now convinced themselves that it was their literal destiny to keep spreading west. And as they're doing so, they stumble upon this rectangle that they thought they would never reach. But no, they're not allowed to settle here because it's allocated for Indians by treaties like real ironclad.
Oh. The big question here is, have America been lied to?
Somebody please make it make sense. Come on now, America.
All day long. Because we fighting about, there's about 300 of them. There's only about 30 of us. So we're going to knock down 150 to 250 before they get within 100 feet.
Wow. Now, the Seminole Scouts who was hired 1870 after the Civil War to go eliminate this threat in the West were actually predecessors to people that have become known as the Buffalo Soldiers, who in history is known as some of the greatest fighting force there. But the Seminoles actually developed what is called the U.S. Army today. Let's walk. So right now, here's the descendant of John Hart, John Jefferson. He's the grandson of. He later joined the 10th Cavalry in the Buffalo Soldiers. So when we say that the Seminoles are predecessors to the people who became known as Buffalo Soldiers, this is what we mean. Follow the bloodline. 1866, the Congress passed a law and created Buffalo Soldier Regiment, okay? And the act specially established for 4 segregated African American infantry regiments and 2 cavalry regiments. Now, Buffalo Soldiers, they endured unimaginable hardships, they say. The late 1860s, the Guadalupe Mountains were one of the last strongholds of the Apache, who had been fighting with the Spanish for nearly 3 centuries to preserve their homelands and their way of life. Later, the American and Mexicans are now from the U.S. Army. The Army is ordered to promote peaceful settlement of the West, and they engaged in subduing Native Americans and placing them where on reservations. Their plan was to get in, eliminate the threat, set up a perimeter, and bring them democracy. Only thing was they couldn't fight, so they needed somebody that was big and tough, and they went to the people that whooped them. Here they go right here. You're witnessing greatness. We already was the greatest cowboys, and they couldn't do nothing with us. Boy, when you see that line and they come in horseback, you knew it was a bad day for you. These are the true Seminoles. So we know in this story when they're speaking about that, they're directly speaking about us and our ancestors. 9th Cavalry came to Texas in 1867 and set up forts along the frontier. Buffalo Soldiers fought in the Spanish-American War and both World Wars. The muscle, they were recognized for their expertise in riding. Okay, they were great men on horseback. So when I say we are the cowboys and the Indians at the same time, but these regiments spent over 25 years engaging in fighting Native Americans. Why nobody talk about this? They also were skilled in map making. They are the people that mapped out the geographical locations here in the West. They also explored lands and opening the West up for settlement. They did all of this, and the U.S. came in. This right here is the treaty was signed April 29, 1868 between the U.S. government and the Sioux Nation. They were recognized on the Black Hills as part of the Great Sioux Reservation and assigned for exclusive use by Sioux people. So after this treaty, these Siouxans will be put on reservation. This led to an act to establish the Indian Peace Commission to end the war. And so this treaty was signed. Out of defeat, they're asking the U.S. to honor this treaty. A treaty where they got their ass whooped and agreed to give up and go live on a place that was reserved just for them. You also had the Battle of Bear Valley. 10th Cavalry Regiment ended up going in there and taking care of business. That was our last action where we tangled with these Native Americans. And guess what happened? We went in there and closed the show, got it done, and went on. And America ain't had no more problems with them ever since. So at West Point, to honor all of this warfare and these traditions, they put up a 2,000-pound bronze statue. And they honored the Buffalo Soldiers who taught white horsemen and white cadets. And they honored them, okay?
Y'all, thanks for tuning in to these TikTok videos and my reactions. Don't forget to hit that like and that subscribe button. Until next time, ooh-wee.
Proud.
Ignition sequence start.
Proud.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
Proud.
1, 0. All engine running.
Proud.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.